Hey everyone, this is Luke again, and welcome back to yet another Ninjago video onto the channel today. So, wow, we just got a new, I guess, intro to the whatever the next installment is, and it looks pretty good, but I'm not gonna judge on it until we get it in a much better quality. But I just want to talk about one certain detail that has a lot of people up in arms. And that is, of course, Jay having a beard. Kind of like I have right now, but much thicker. Um, and basically, we could pretty much come to the conclusion that Jay is basically depressed. But I feel like there's an even more scarier side to that. Because I feel like, because depressed people don't obviously start out with a full-on beard. No. I feel like Jay has gone personally insane. I think he's actually gone batshit insane. Where he has essentially lost his mind, essentially, because he's so distraught over losing Nia that he basically can't perform regular cognitive functions, and he essentially lost his mind as a result of it. He essentially became insane, and you know, we also see him holding a water bottle, which is like this water, um, which is supposed to be Nia. I mean, she became one with the sea, which makes sense. Um, and everyone thinks this is going to be a good arc. As for me, I'm much more skeptical about this. Because, for one, a lot of people are comparing it to Jay's Season 6 arc. And if you know me, I'm one of the few people in the world who actually dislikes this arc and considers it one of the worst in the show because it doesn't really do anything. It didn't really do anything for the character of Jay other than getting his relationship back together with Nia. That's all it really did. Um, there's no individual character development for Jay to stand on. At least with Nia, they gave her something in Seabound. Why can't they do the same thing with Jay? What I'm worried about, though, is that Nia essentially is going to come back later in the season, and Jay is going to just pretend like nothing had happened, essentially. That's my biggest worry, is that it's literally going to be a repeat of Skybound, and that it was essentially becoming another Jaya fan service season, which is what I don't want. I don't want it to pander to those people simply because they're super dedicated or whatnot. I understand that you can't please everybody, but appealing to a certain set of fans is just not right, in my opinion. It should appeal to all fans, or at least try to. And that's my biggest worry right now, is that they are going to basically repeat the same idea, which is, for one, that's unoriginality. You literally repeated the same storyline, for one. And two, this storyline is not good at all, so you're just repeating a bad storyline that just simply, to be put, is there to, three, pander to a certain set of Ninjago fans rather than trying to appeal to as many as you can. So that is my concerns for this whole thing. I do think it can be good, but it has to take the proper steps in order to be good. And just a little extra piece here. We know that Jay is grieving because towards the end of the intro, which it says brevemente, which sounds like I think it's like a Spanish or Portuguese word for bereavement, which is essentially another way of saying grief or loss. So this season could actually be called bereavement, which would go over the struggles that Jay is doing. So it looks like it'll be more as a just Jay season, and they have the perfect opportunity to make it a just Jay season because they tried to do it with Skybound, but it didn't work as Nia was involved. Obviously, Nia is going to be somewhat involved, but I don't want her to be like directly involved, Like, sure, Jay is devastated as a result of, Nia sacrificed. But that's not direct. That's not direct, at least in my eyes. This was more of an indirect. What I want Jay to do is just to accept the fact that Nia is gone and that he can live without her. That's, honest to God, my biggest issue with Jay as a character. I have not seen proof that he can live on his own 2 feet. It's like he just can't stand on his own 2 feet without Nia there. Like, I understand that Nia's like a shoulder to cry on, and I get that. But there's a difference between wanting help for somebody and then not helping yourself. Like, I understand that, sometimes you just need some people to, lift you up. I get that. I've been in that position. But there comes a point where you got to take matters into your own hands. You got to say, this is okay. You can't stop relying on other people. That's my biggest problem with Jay. He's too reliant on her. And I hope to God that this season will explore that Jay doesn't need Nia. Jay doesn't need her in order to be a happy person. He doesn't need her. I'm not trying to. This one, I actually am not going to try and suggest a breakup like I did with the Skybound ending. What I want Jay to understand is that my happiness does not need to involve my people that I have close connections with. Because at the end of the day, it's his life, his happiness that matters. And yes, I understand that Nia makes him happy, but I believe there are other ways for Jay to be happy that doesn't involve Nia. Like video games, for example. He plays video games and he is basically incredibly happy with that. And that's what I want. So obviously they could start off with him being depressed and whatnot, and then possibly going insane. But I want Jay to say, hey, you know what? Nia's gone. I've got to accept this. That this is what happened. There's nothing I can do to change the past, and I just have to accept it and move on. It's like the 5 stages of grief. Like in Seabound, he was in denial. He was in total denial that this wasn't even happening. And then he got super angry. I feel like he's going to be super angry. He's going to find some way to bring her back because he's desperate. That's bargaining. And then he's going to become depressed. But then eventually he's going to accept the fact that she is gone. But I feel that may be a little too deep for Ninjago, and that they'll go with the cheap route of bringing Nia back and essentially basically ruining not only Nia's sacrifice, but Jay's entire development as a whole. And if that's the case, I would essentially quit the show, because that just proves that the writers have no idea what the fuck they're doing, essentially. Obviously, they're trained professionals, so in their minds, it's good writing. So what's good writing for them may not be good writing for me, per se. So, but in my mind, that's bad writing. That's bad writing. Because in my mind, the best way to go at this approach is for Jay to accept that Nia is not going to come back. You can't bring loved ones back from the dead. That's just a fact. I've lost a lot of people in my life, and did I get upset over it? Of course I did. That's part of human nature. But did I move on from it? Of course I did. That's also part of human nature. Like Sensei Wu said in season 8, grief comes in many shapes and many forms. But what I think he failed to note is that acceptance also comes in many forms. And that we need to accept that death is inevitable and sacrifice is inevitable, and that we just need to move on, and we can't wallow in what once was, and that eventually we just have to move on. It's kind of the same thing they did with season 4 to an extent. Like, Lloyd, Kai, Cole, and Jay were so devastated when Zane was sacrificed. And they essentially moved on with their lives. That's why I love that episode so much, because it's so realistic to what would actually happen in real life. Like, that episode is golden. Just say it. It's so realistic to what happens with grief. People have many different ways of interpreting grief, and, they'll eventually will come to the conclusion that they're gone. There's nothing we can do, and we just have to move on with our lives, even if that means, separating for a little while. But that's my main worries about this this direction that Jay could be going in. My biggest worry is that they are not going to go the full realistic route and make Jay accept that Nia is gone and that he doesn't necessarily need her, because that's always been a big issue I've had with Jay as a character. It's almost like Jay doesn't work without Nia, because Nia can work on her own. It's been proven. But Jay can't do that for some reason. And I want Jay to finally get some individual development where he can stand on his own 2 feet, grow a pair of balls, and just say, you know what? I'm a man. I may have lost my girlfriend, but that happens. That's how life works. And that I just need to accept the fact that she's not going to come back and move on with my life, essentially. But I don't think they're going to go that route, because that's a little too deep for kids show territory, which would suck, honestly, because that just proves that they know how to restraint, but they just don't know when to actually properly do restraint. You know what I mean? But I'm rambling on for way too much. But anyways, what do you guys think about Jay and his Oswald depression / insanity arc? Do you think this arc will be pretty good, or do you think you have to share some of the same worries as me about it turning into a terrible arc? Let me know in the comments down below. But anyways, I hope you guys liked this video. Give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel by clicking on the red subscribe button, and click on the notification bell to see every video that I will upload. And I'll see all you folks in the next video. Bye bye!